Our family lottery jackpot destroyed every relationship we had. A story for American viewers. The hook, the winning ticket, was in my mother's bra. That's not where she kept it for safekeeping. That's where she hid it from us, from her own children, the same children who had pooled our last $47 to buy the quick pick at the Gas and Go on Route 9 in Davenport, Iowa. The same children who had stood in that fluorescent-lit convenience store at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, shivering in our thrift store coats, passing around a single cup of burnt coffee because none of us could afford our own. The Powerball drawing was January 14th, 2019. The jackpot was $687 million. We won $437 million after taxes, and by Valentine's Day, my brother was in jail, my sister was in rehab, and I was sitting in a Motel 6 in Council Bluffs with a stolen Glock 19 and a bottle of Jim Beam, wondering if my own mother had hired someone to kill me. This is not a rags to riches story. This is a story about what happens when you drop a nuclear bomb on a house of cards. The setup. My name is Danny Callahan. I'm 34 years old as I write this, though I feel about 90. I grew up in a double wide on the outskirts of Davenport, right where the Mississippi River bends like a question mark. My father worked the line at the John Deere plant until they laid him off in 2008, and then he worked nothing until the liver failure took him in 2015. My mother, Patricia, was a cashier at the Walmart on Kimberly Road for 23 years. She knew every coupon code by heart and could scan a cart of groceries in under 3 minutes. She was the most reliable person I knew. I have 2 siblings. My older brother, Sean, is 37. He was a decent mechanic at the Firestone on Brady Street until the opioids found him. My younger sister, Megan, is 29. She waitressed at the Cracker Barrel off I-80 and dreamed of being a dental hygienist, though she never quite made it to the community college orientation. We were the kind of family that existed in the background of America. The people you pass on the highway, the faces you forget in the checkout line. We weren't happy, but we weren't miserable either. We were just surviving, holding our breath underwater, waiting for something to change. That Tuesday night, something changed. The win. I remember the moment with the clarity of trauma. We were at my mother's trailer, the 4 of us crammed around a folding table with a pizza from Casey's that Sean had borrowed from his roommate. The Powerball was background noise, something we watched because it was cheaper than cable and slightly more interesting than staring at our phones. When the numbers came up, 12, 21, 42, 44, 50, and the Powerball 6, nobody moved. My mother had the ticket. She always bought it, using the same numbers every week. Our birthdays. Sean's was the 12th. Mine was the 21st. Megan's was the 42nd. Mom's was the 44th. Dad's was the 50th. The Powerball 6 was the day Dad proposed to her, June 6th, 1984. "Mom," Sean whispered, "check the ticket." She pulled it from her wallet with trembling fingers. She checked it 3 times. Then she checked it a 4th time, walking over to the kitchen light because maybe the bulb above the table was too dim. Then she screamed. Not a happy scream, a scream like someone was being murdered, a scream that made the neighbor's dog start barking and the lights in the trailer park flicker. She collapsed into her vinyl kitchen chair, the one with the duct-taped armrest, and she wept. We all wept. Sean was on his knees, praying to a God he hadn't spoken to in 15 years. Megan was hyperventilating, her asthma inhaler forgotten in her purse. I just stood there, staring at that little piece of paper, thinking, this is a mistake. This has to be a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Ooh. The first week. The first week was heaven. Pure, unadulterated American dream heaven. We hired a lawyer from Des Moines, a man named Richard Holloway, who wore suits that cost more than my car and smelled like cedar and old money. We formed a trust. We took the lump sum. We told no one, or at least we tried to. My mother bought a house first. Not a mansion, she wasn't ready for that. A modest 4-bedroom in Bettendorf, right on the golf course, with granite countertops and a kitchen island that could seat 6. She cried when she saw the walk-in closet. I could fit my whole trailer in here, she said. And then she cried harder. Sean paid off his debts. All of them. The payday loans, the title loans, the $8,400 he owed his dealer, the $2,300 he owed his ex-girlfriend, the $900 he owed the Iowa City Municipal Court for the DUI he never told us about. He bought a Ford Raptor, cash, and drove it to the Firestone where he used to work. He didn't quit. He just parked it in the employee lot, walked inside, and told his boss he was taking a permanent vacation. Megan enrolled in the dental hygienist program at Scott Community College. She bought a Lexus. She bought a townhouse in the village of East Davenport, the historic district with the cobblestone streets and the boutiques. She started going to a therapist who charged $400 an hour and specialized in sudden wealth syndrome. I did something different. I bought a bar. It was a failing dive called the Rusty Anchor on the riverfront in Rock Island, Illinois, just across the bridge from Davenport. I paid $180,000 for it, spent another $80,000 renovating it, and renamed it the Lucky 6. I hired my old high school friends as bartenders. I gave them health insurance. I told myself I was building something. I told myself I was staying grounded. I told myself a lot of things. Ooh. The first crack appeared at Thanksgiving, 3 weeks after the win. We were at Mom's new house. She had hired a caterer from Chicago because, as she put it, I'm not cooking for you ungrateful bastards in a kitchen this nice. The table was set with china that cost more than my first car. There were place cards. There was a floral centerpiece. Sean showed up 2 hours late, reeking of vodka and something chemical. He had a woman with him. She was 22, maybe, with extensions in her hair and a dress that left nothing to the Midwestern imagination. Her name was Tiffany, or maybe Destiny. She didn't eat. She just took selfies with the china and posted them to Instagram with the location tagged. Who is she? Mom asked, her voice that dangerous whisper she used when we were kids and about to be grounded. She's my girlfriend, Sean slurred. And she's pregnant. The silence was biblical. You're not pregnant, Megan said, her new therapist voice calm and measured. You're just bloated from the painkillers. Tiffany slashed Destiny through her wine glass at Megan's head. It missed and shattered against the 4,000 floral centerpiece. Sean punched a hole in the drywall. Mom locked herself in her bedroom and didn't come out until the caterers left. That night, I found Sean in the garage, sitting in his Raptor, crying. "I don't know who I am anymore, Danny," he said. "I used to be the guy who fixed your transmission. Now I'm just this." He gestured at himself, at the truck, at the house, at everything. "And I can't stop. I keep buying things. I keep doing things. Because if I stop, I have to think about what comes next. And I don't know what comes next." I didn't have an answer. I still don't. The second crack. The second crack was Megan. She finished her first semester of dental hygienist school with a 4.0. She bought a second Lexus, this one a convertible. She started dating a man named Chad who sold commercial real estate and wore loafers without socks. She joined a gym that cost $300 a month and had a juice bar. Then she stopped going to class. Then she stopped answering her phone. I found her in her townhouse on a Tuesday afternoon, the shades drawn, the air thick with marijuana smoke, and the sweet rot of forgotten takeout. She was sitting on her white leather couch in a bathrobe that probably cost $400, staring at a wall-mounted TV that was playing nothing but static. "I can't do it, Danny," she said, not looking at me, looking at the static. "I go to school and I sit there and I think, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. I have more money than my teachers will make in 10 lifetimes. And then I leave. And then I buy something. And then I feel better for a while. And then I don't." She started crying. "I bought a horse. Did I tell you? A horse. I don't know how to ride a horse. I don't even like horses. But I saw it on a website and I bought it. It's in a stable in Galena. I haven't visited it in 3 weeks. I think it's depressed." I tried to get her to go to a different therapist. A real one, not the 400 an hour wealth whisperer. She refused. "They don't understand," she said. "They've never had this emptiness, this thing where you can have anything you want, so nothing matters anymore." She checked into rehab 6 weeks later. Not for drugs, though she was using plenty. For behavioral addiction. She spent $340,000 in 3 months on things she couldn't remember buying. She had 3 storage units in Moline full of unopened Amazon boxes. The third crack. The third crack was my mother. She started dating. Or, more accurately, she started being dated. Men appeared at her door like delivery pizzas, hot, ready, and utterly disposable. There was the golf pro from the Bettendorf Club. There was the widower from her church who just needed companionship. There was the personal trainer who was younger than me and called her Patty in a way that made my skin crawl. She changed her will 4 times. Each version left more to her new family and less to us. The golf pro got a condo in Naples. The widower got the vintage Corvette she'd bought on a whim. The personal trainer got $50,000 in investment capital for his CrossFit gym. We confronted her at Easter, the 4 of us, together for the first time since Thanksgiving, sitting in her living room with the vaulted ceilings and the view of the golf course. Mom, I said, we need to talk about the money. The money? She laughed, but it was a new laugh. Harder, colder. You mean my money? The money I won? We bought that ticket together, Sean said. His hands were shaking. He was using again. We all knew it. We pooled our money. It was all of ours. You're $47. Mom's eyes were bright, feverish. Your $47 bought $400 million? Is that what you're saying, Sean? Because I have the receipt, I have the ticket, and I have the lawyer who says it's mine. She stood up. She was wearing a silk blouse that cost more than my first semester of college. You know what I did for you kids? I worked at Walmart for 23 years. 23 years of scanning canned corn and listening to people complain about coupon policies, and you never thanked me. Not once. Not one of you ever said, "Thanks, Mom, for working yourself to death so we could have frozen pizza and secondhand clothes." That's not fair, Megan whispered. Fair? Mom laughed again, that hard laugh. Fair is a place where you ride rides and eat cotton candy. Fair doesn't exist. But this, she gestured around her at the house, at the life she'd built. This exists, and it's mine, all of it. And if you don't like it, you can go back to your trailers and your bars and your rehabs and leave me alone. She walked out. She didn't come back for 3 days. When she did, the locks had been changed and a security guard was posted at the gate. The explosion. The explosion came in July, 6 months after the win. Sean was arrested in Des Moines. He'd been running a side business, if you can call it that, selling prescription pills to college kids. He had $80,000 in cash in his Raptor when they pulled him over. He'd spent $200,000 of his share in 6 months. The rest was gone to lawyers, to Tiffany/Destiny, who turned out to be married, to a cocaine habit that made his opioid addiction look like a vitamin deficiency. He called me from the Polk County Jail. "Danny," he said, his voice flat, dead. "I need you to bail me out." "I can't, Sean. You have the money. We all have the money." "I don't have it anymore." Silence. "What do you mean you don't have it?" I told him about the Lucky Six, about the renovations that went over budget, about the bartenders who stole from the till, about the lawsuit from the woman who slipped on the wet floor and claimed emotional distress, about the $340,000 I'd spent trying to keep the place afloat, trying to prove I was more than a lottery winner, trying to build something real. "I have about $12,000 left," I said, "and the bar, which is worth less than the liens against it." He hung up. He didn't speak to me for 2 years. Megan got out of rehab and immediately relapsed. She sold her townhouse, her Lexus, her horse. She moved back in with Mom, who had evicted the personal trainer and was now finding herself through a series of spiritual retreats in Sedona. They fought constantly. Megan called me once, drunk, at 3 a.m. "She's going to leave it all to her guru," she slurred. "Some guy named Moonbeam who tells her she's a divine feminine or some shit. We're going to get nothing, Danny, nothing." She was right, mostly. Mom did leave Moonbeam $2 million, but she left the rest to a foundation she'd started, the Patricia Callahan Center for Mindful Living, which existed only on paper and in the imagination of her accountant, who was also her boyfriend by that point. She left Sean, Megan, and me 10,000 each. For old time's sake, the will said. The aftermath. I sold the Lucky Six for $45,000 to a restaurant group from Chicago. They turned it into a wine bar with exposed brick and Edison bulbs. I go there sometimes, late at night, and sit at the corner where my office used to be. I order a beer and I remember what it felt like to believe I could build something. Sean got out of prison in 2022. He lives in a halfway house in Cedar Rapids and works at a Jiffy Lube. He doesn't speak to Mom. He doesn't speak to me. The last time I saw him at a gas station on I-380, he looked through me like I was glass. Megan is in recovery, real recovery this time, at a facility in Minnesota. She writes me letters, real letters on paper, about the trees and the lake and the meetings where they talk about gratitude. She says she's happy. I hope she's happy. I haven't seen her in 18 months. My mother died in March of 2024. Heart attack, they said, though I think it was something else. Something that happens when you spend 5 years trying to fill a hole with money and men and spiritual gurus and find that the hole just keeps getting deeper. She was 63 years old. I went to the funeral. I sat in the back of the church, the same church where I'd been baptized, where Sean had been confirmed, where Dad's memorial service had been held in a borrowed suit. There were about 20 people there. Most of them were from the foundation, wearing lanyards and talking about legacy. I didn't cry. I think I'd used up all my tears. The truth. Here's the truth about winning the lottery. The thing nobody tells you. Money doesn't change who you are. It just removes the obstacles that were keeping you from becoming who you always were. Sean was always an addict. The money just gave him access to better drugs. Megan was always lost. The money just gave her more ways to wander. My mother was always angry. The money just gave her the power to punish us for it. And I was always a fool. The money just gave me a bigger stage to play the fool on. We weren't destroyed by the jackpot. We were destroyed by ourselves, by the people we'd become after decades of scarcity and resentment and unspoken grievances. The money was gasoline, but we were the fire. Closing note. If you're watching this on an English story channel, if you've made it this far, thank you. I didn't write this for pity. I wrote it because I think there are people out there, maybe you, who look at the lottery and think, that would fix everything. And I need you to know, it won't. It can't. The only thing that fixes anything is the hard, daily work of being a decent human being, of showing up for your family, of doing the thing that scares you because it's right. I don't have a happy ending for you. I have a motel room in Council Bluffs, and a stolen gun I never used, and a bottle of whiskey I finished last night. I have a brother who doesn't know me, and a sister I hope is healing, and a mother I never really understood until it was too late. But I also have this. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And tomorrow, I'm going to a meeting. Not a lottery winner support group. Those are full of people who want to talk about their yachts. A regular, boring church basement meeting where people talk about their lives and their failures and the small, stubborn hope that things can be different. Maybe they can, maybe they can't, but I'm going to find out. Good luck to all of you. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're dreaming about, whatever you think that big break will fix, just remember the break doesn't fix anything. You fix it or you don't, but you keep going either way. If this story meant something to you, if it made you think or feel or just helped pass the time, be on this channel. Subscribe. There are more stories like this, more voices from the forgotten corners of America, more people trying to make sense of a world that doesn't always make sense. We're all in this together, even when we're alone. Danny Callahan, Davenport, Iowa, June 2026.